Yeah, hi, welcome everyone. Those who've joined in from Zoom, those who've joined in from on Facebook Live. I'm really happy that so many of you have come, and there are so many registrations and so many questions that we got from you all. And we wanted to share this topic of how is the COVID-19 crisis redefining the job market. And who better to learn from than the stalwarts in the talent acquisition industry, some of them which we've got on board today. So I first of all really thankful that you could all take time and came to watch our webinar. And so we want to learn about what are the challenges and the opportunities which are happening as of now during the COVID-19 crisis in the job market. First, a little bit about me. I'm Dwivedi. I'm a leadership career coach at answerwhatnext.com. I've got overall 25 plus years of experience, and about 17 years I've worked with Naukri, heading different recruitment services verticals like Quadrangle Executive Search, Naukri eHire, Naukri Premium, a little bit of resume services, which is now called Fast Forward. And across the last 2 years, in order to make a difference at a deeper level, I got myself certified as a coach, and I've turned an entrepreneur, where I do leadership coaching, mainly on how to make your career more meaningful and fulfilling. And I also consult InfoEdge in their CSR division, and where I closely work with some of the non-profits to maximize value and impact. And I'm working on my personal mission to make lives and careers of 1 lakh people more meaningful and fulfilling. That's about me. Now I'd like to introduce my esteemed panelists. I'll start with the ladies. Ladies first. So Preeti Dwivedi, she comes from a consumer background. Right now she's representing Crompton Greaves. And she is a global HR professional. She's worked in the automotive industry, in the technology industry. She started with Tata's and worked in 3 group companies of Tata's. And then she also worked globally in BMW, where she worked in HR in India, Germany, and China. And she's from Tata Institute of Social Sciences. And a fun fact about her is that she likes naturopathy and believes in healing and de-stressing with the power of nature. She's also an avid yoga student and loves practicing gratitude. Preeti, Head Talent Acquisition and Talent Management from Crompton Greaves Consumer Electricals. Next in line, I'd like to welcome Khalid Raza. He is representing the consulting industry, and Khalid has over 15 years of experience in managing and leading global teams in talent acquisition. He's a strong and very hands-on experience in various functions of talent, and he spent a decade with IBM before joining EY, where he's currently working. And a fun fact about him is in 2016, Khalid was named one of the top 25 HR executives under 40 by Workforce magazine. Pleasure to have you, Khalid. And Mr. Tushar Desai, the Director, Talent Acquisition, FIS. FIS is Fidelity's. Did you know that Fidelity is one of the biggest banking a banking institution across the world, and which has all services across different offerings. And Tushar has been with them for, Tushar has overall 19 years of experience. He's accountable for helping FIS serve its clients by discovering and attracting the best talent across 11 locations and 3 business verticals. He has a track record of aligning human resources with business strategy. And a fun fact about him is he loves to talk about food and he enjoys long travel. Again, I welcome all my 3 esteemed panelists for this webinar today. A quick thing on Naukri. What Naukri has done on COVID-19 is that we've started a step up campaign where to help the job seekers, because we want to, as Naukri, we want to be in solidarity with what is happening in the job market. And so Naukri has given free access to recruiters of CVs of candidates who may have got laid off from organizations. If a candidate marks themselves as laid off, their CV visibility is also higher. And they're also offering upskilling courses through their website to upskill during this time of need. And now I'd just like to start with a little overview of what is happening in the job market. We've seen there's a Naukri Jobseekers index which we do, and which basically measures the number of jobs advertised at every month on every industry. So we've seen some of the industries, for example, travel is 95% down compared to last April. Hotel is 89% down compared to last April. I'm talking about the April results. There are also other industries which have been really badly hit, like auto, real estate, multiplexes, luxury retail, and even some informal industries which may not be what Naukri recruits for, what we know of, but things like live sports, live events. There was a big industry, events as an industry, oil and gas as an industry. All of these are right now down for hiring. While things may be looking bad, but there are certain industries which are also picking up. Now, there may be formally industries like healthcare is one which we see a lot of action happening, and it's not as badly hit. Pharma, biotech are amongst some industries. Medical devices, with all this thing of Atmanirbhar, I'm sure a lot of medical devices are going to get manufactured in India. Then skills like data science, artificial intelligence, analytics, digital products, these are still very high in demand. Another interesting fact, some of the industries which are the informal industries are also seeing a boom, which things like gig economy. Today, you have so many freelancers and they're just doing lots of work through freelancing. Online education, we all know a lot of our kids or our relatives' kids are doing online education. So things like digital products like Zoom, what we are speaking on now, I'm sure Zoom has expanded in the last one month what it wouldn't have done in the last 1 year. And so things like these are also expanding. And then so coming back to your inputs, what would you say, Preeti? What is your understanding of the current situation in talent acquisition in the market? How do you see it impact?
Sure. Thank you, Harveen, for your insights. I can share my insights from the consumer durable industry, actually, known as FMCG or FMCD industry. So let me talk about the industry first, and then I'll go to the hiring side of it. So how the industry has changed in these times. So if I talk about consumer goods, it has two sides to it. Number one is the sales side, and the second side is the supply side or the production side. So, sales is, of course, an important function for all the consumer goods industries. And there, if we see, there have been two major changes which have been happening in these times. So number one is that, before COVID, 90% of our sales staffs used to be on field, interacting with the customers, with the distributors. Now with COVID, they are all homebound. They are connecting with the distributors, with the retailers through phone, through video chats. Now, this also used to happen before, but now they are completely relying on telephone calls, on video calls. So the way of working or the way of communicating has changed majorly. This is the number one change which I'm seeing over here. And, again, related to this is that the reliance on the digital products or the technology-led sales tools, that is increasing more and more. So for example, for invoicing, for tracking, for sales tracking, for financing, Now we are more and more using digital tools. So that is like becoming really important for the sales staff to actually be very, very comfortable with the technology and with the digital tools. So that is really happening on the side of, our sales side. The second important thing which is also happening is on the medium of channels, or basically the channels through which the sales used to happen. I mean, if you really talk about consumer durables or consumer goods, conventionally it was a distributor, retailer, and a consumer model. Now, there's no sales happening, and there's no physical sales happening actually. So the industry is shifting more and more towards channels like e-commerce, towards digitally led channels. I mean, here I would like to give you an example, and it was also in news a couple of days back about Reliance JioMart. Now, what Reliance is doing is that they are connecting with the Kirana store managers, they are connecting with retailers, and they are bringing their products online, and they are delivering, and they are guaranteeing the customers quality, cost, and also return. So these are some things which they are guaranteeing, and hence the models are changing. So what I'm seeing coming on the hiring side, again, if I'm on the, I would like to share with all my friends over here that the skills which were earlier required for the sales staff, that will be really changing. I mean, we will be moving more towards hiring people who are comfortable with e-commerce, who have had experience in e-commerce, and who are also very comfortable with technology and digital-led tools. So this is, the number one change which I am seeing, and we have already started working in those lines. Now, if I come to the supply side of it, which is also a very important side, again, Harveen, as you mentioned about the self-reliant policy, our Prime Minister just announced 2 days back that we'll be manufacturing locally. Now, India has conventionally been an assembly market. And the skills which are required for the assembly market, they are very different from production market. So, and assembly skills are easier to acquire skills because that majorly requires time optimization, productivity models, etc. But on the production side, the skills are more complicated, and more in-depth skills are required. So that's where I'm seeing, we will be more in need of the skills which are related to production, which are related to manufacturing. And here I see, kind of shortage in the country, or actually in the markets. So I will be looking more and more for people, once we start localing manufacturing, and, this initiative really builds up. I will be, as a talent acquisition, really interested in people who are skilled in production, who are skilled in manufacturing, and who have in-depth knowledge of these fields. So this is what I have to talk about, my industry.
Right. Thanks, Preeti. Now let's come to Khalid. Tell us about the consulting industry. You've been with EY, and so tell us how is this crisis impacting your industry and talent acquisition in your industry?
Thank you, Arvind, and thank you everyone for joining in. I think as the pandemic has grown, it has given us two perspectives. One, to understand what is changing, and second, to plan for the next. I think at this point in time, all the organizations are grappling with the two phases. Do we continue with our short-term plans that we have, or do we focus on what's going to happen in the future? So consulting as an organization, or as an industry, majorly focuses on any disruption, anything which is not going right, and that's where we see a lot of opportunity. We see opportunity in some of the sectors in consulting. Not all the sectors will see the impact, but as Pallavi said, Preeti said, we are focusing on a lot of newer skills. A lot of older jobs will go away, but newer skills will develop. We are looking at people with capabilities to handle different digital tools and products. Our own focus as an industry would be going on those perspectives. Our assessment of the market is, at this point in time, is looking at where do we need a rest in transformation, or do we need a transformation to actually go to the next state? Now that could be automotive, that could be oil and gas, that could be your government practices everywhere. So we don't see a lot of impact. Yes, we are reassessing the situation, and we are recalibrating as to what is the next step going to be. But yes, opportunities will be there as we continue to move towards grappling what's there right now and assessing what's going to be the future.
Great. Thanks for your insights, Khalid. Now let me come to Tushar. So the financial industry, and let's know from you, what do you think has been the impact in the financial services industry, and what is happening in the talent acquisition space in that? Tushar? I think Tushar went on, or may have got disconnected. Okay. In the meantime, Tushar joins us. I would want to continue further and go to how should Preeti, how should you think that the job seekers should prepare for this post-COVID era?
Sure, Harveen, actually, so there, I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of people who will be seeking jobs right now who have joined this webinar. So basically, Harveen, again, you know, initially when you started off, you mentioned that there are certain skills which are will be more in demand in the coming future. Actually, they were already there in demand, but the demand will be increasing manifold. So skills like artificial engineering, intelligence, robotics, logistics also, I would say, you know, production, I would say, again, robotics, data engineering. So these are high demand skills. And I would suggest, or I would encourage people who are already working in these or who already have these skills to capitalize on these skills. This is your market. I mean, you should really go out and capitalize on this opportunity and build up more and more skills in this area. Now, to my friends who are not, who are from other industries or who do not have, you know, these kind of skills, and I'm in regular touch with those kind of people, I would say, you know, a good strategy would be to wait and let the market open, of course, and I'm really sure about it that the market will open, and also use this time in upskilling yourself, because this time will actually not come back again. There is another point which I would also like to mention here is that I think all of us now, you know, you guys, all of you, the job seekers over here, you should prepare more and more for video interviews and telephonic interviews. Actually, I mean, I would like to ask my audience over here, isn't it that, you know, that you are once, I mean, sometimes you are really good in face-to-face interviews, but when it comes to telephone or video interviews, you're not able to express yourself. I myself see, you know, a lot of times happening with this kind of things with very good candidates. So please practice on telephonic interviews and video interview skills. These skills are going to be very, very important coming, you know, going into the future. This is the second point which I would like to say. Again, the third point I would like to say is that be slightly open on the compensation side also. See, I mean, you know, industries are grappling, you know, markets are going down. So I would say just be a little flexible on the compensation side. There is a possibility that the kind of increases which you used to see when you used to change jobs in the past might not happen this time. So this would also happen. So be a little more flexible on the compensation side. Again, as an HR, I would like to say that. And the third most important thing which I would say is that tough times do not last, but tough people do. So please, I'm sure, you know, the markets, the companies are not stopping work. Yes, they are adopting different ways of doing work, but they are not stopping work. So please keep on looking for job opportunities. There are a lot of companies, and Harveen, you also mentioned, you know, some of the industries which are coming up like pharma, and, you know, these kind of industries are coming up. So please keep an eye on these industries and, you know, keep on with the job search. That is all I have to say to all the job seekers who are present over here.
Hi, Harveen. Sorry, I dropped. I had some connection issue. I'm back in. Yeah.
So we'd like to start with you on how do you think COVID has impacted the talent acquisition in the financial services industry?
Right.
And,
so
what do you see happening in that industry?
Well, I'll speak for both financial technology, fintech, as we conventionally call it, as well as the services organization, the IT services organization, right? I think so. We are in a much more sweeter spot as far as some of the other industries is concerned. We are the earliest ones to adopt and adapt to the changes, both at the same time, right? In fact, the industry which I represent, that is banking technology industry, is also qualified across the world as an essential services industry, right? So from a business model perspective, I think we are much more safer from a continuity perspective, but it's in the long run, because this is not a capital-led crisis, it's more of a medical crisis. In the long run, if the liquidity does not really kick in, we are not going to be insulated from all that is happening around us, right? So essentially, what I see from my peer organizations in the services sector as well as the product sector in the IT space is we are looking more internally right now, looking at synergies, looking at flexibilities, rather than going full-fledged outside. Everybody is really holding on to see light at the end of the tunnel as of now.
Sure. Thanks, Tushar, for your valuable inputs. The other thing, what do you think how should a job seeker prepare in this era for your industry?
I think agility, and I'll keep on holding on to this word across our conversation today. Agility is the name of the game, right? Gone are the days, and make no mistake, we are not going to be going back to face-to-face interviews, even after everything goes back to normal, right? Digital interviews are here to stay, right? We're going to see most of the IT organizations now, in fact, are in the preparations to really block out those jobs which can be permanently work from home, right? And we are one industry which can go as high as 60 to 70%, right? So if I'm a job seeker, I should be preparing more on how I'm going to be giving it, right? Like I'm giving it for you, right? It will be video proctored, on-demand interviews, maybe live interviews, given the fact that organizations are going to be having leaner TA teams, right? So I would be preparing more for these proctored interviews, right? Where it's everything is going to be right? Nothing is going to be touch, no touch interviews, right? That's the first. Second is I will at all stage try to show that I'm flexible from the conventional way. If not full time, I'm ready for a gig kind of a role. I'm ready for a project kind of a role. I'm flexible from skills perspectives as well, right? I can't say, okay, so that's a technology which I won't touch, right? I should be flexible if it's there in my CV, right? And the third and the most important point is, just take this thing out as boundaries that we had from a conventional sense, right? For all you know, you would be working, sitting here wherever you are for a project anywhere outside of India or that geography, wherever they are, right? So that boundaryless thought process is very important.
Sure. Great. Thanks for your inputs, Tushar. Let's move to Khalid. Khalid, what about your industry? How should job seekers prepare for the post-COVID era?
So Tushar and Preeti have predominantly covered almost all the aspects. They've taken the thunder away. But I completely agree. The skills need to be fungible now, and people can't be sticking on to the same skills that they thought predominantly is in their palm. They need to dabble into new stuff. They need to prepare for interviews, of course, because as Tushar said, once you have this bug got on where you can save money and be more efficient, organization will not let that advantage go. So what a job seeker can do is prepare themselves well. Now it goes back to checking the technology, being comfortable in front of the camera, ensuring that you have a place where you can do the interviews, because last thing you want is disturbance. I think another piece which Tushar briefly touched upon was around the gig economy. I think a lot of job seekers should start to gain experience. Now that experience could be in any form. Now that could be in any industry, any sector, any job. Instead of learning everything through courses, which is more of a theoretical knowledge, you work on a project that I think will add a lot of leverage to your CV, especially for people who are freshers. And I just saw a question around it. So freshers need to pick up, for example, EY has a portal called Gig Now. People can search, go register, and we're going to leverage those. There are 1,000 other portals available which are attached to a company or otherwise as well. I think that's going to be the fundamental piece. Even for people who have jobs, I think they need to start to transform. They can't settle over and say that I'm a recruiter, I'm going to do recruiting only. As the demand comes, as the transformation happens, we have to evolve. If we don't evolve, and taking cue from COVID, the virus which is impacting all of us, we need to start to evolve as human race. I think our professions and our skills and our mindset, as Tushar was alluding to, needs to evolve as well.
Okay, so just to summarize between what Preeti, Tushar, and Khalid have mentioned, that new skills like artificial intelligence, robotics, data engineering, sciences are high in demand. People should be open to compensation. One word which I'm hearing again and again is flexibility, adaptability, that people should adopt, be flexible, and they should prepare themselves for e-interviews, video interviews, and be very comfortable doing these. What I also think is, to add to what Tushar and Khalid said, that now the mindset of the job seeker needs to change very, very drastically, because such a drastic situation has called. And I think from now, from a salary mindset, that this should be my salary, you should move towards an income mindset, that, okay, I want to generate this income. How else can I generate an income? Should I do investments also? Should I do something else? Should I also be a part of the gig economy? From a job perspective, that finding the next job, if you're, it should be more towards a career. Where do you want to make your career in? So, for example, if you're in the tourism or hotel industry, and there's no point getting a job even if you're getting there. It is more to move to a career, to an industry which is going to grow despite COVID or post-COVID also. So, think from a career point of view, from giving reasons of not having, if you're working for a company and just giving reasons that this is not happening because of COVID and all. I think so now the focus will be a lot more on results. That you need to change your mindset towards these are the results you have to show, irrespective of whatever the atmosphere around you is. And for senior people who've been there working in the same companies for long, from a legacy mindset, they need to change to a learning mindset. They need to learn, again, adapting to the new digital tools. What is it that they can do? And again, employees, from a KPI, KRA perspective, that this is my KRA, you just need to add more value to your employers. You need to find places where you can add value because of whatever skills you have, whether it's part of your KPI, KRA or not. So this is what I would think, that this is a must-have for a job seeker for a post-COVID era. And now let me go to the next question. How do you land a permanent job during these uncertain times? Although one thing also tells me that there is nothing known as a permanent job now. Because of what is happening, there are companies which may just close down. There are things, there are mergers, there are acquisitions, and but still, how do you land? When I think people ask this question, they mean a more stable job. So how do you land a permanent job during these uncertain times? Preeti, what would be your suggestions?
Harveen, I would like to pick up from where you actually left. How do we define permanent, right? That's the context over here. So like, I'm sure, a lot of our people over here, a lot of my friends over here would relate permanent job to a job security part, right? I think that's pretty much, we have to change the definition of a permanent job over. It's no longer a job security, which a permanent job means. I think we all, more than the permanent part of it, we should focus more on the learning part of it, as also Tushar and Khalid said. So people, I would say, we should be ready to work in projects, in assignments, which will bring value to our CVs, which will bring value to the companies. Also, like, short-term assignments, which will help in skill building of the people. That should be taken up, very openly by the people. This should be more, I would say, the emphasis should be more on skill building, on projects. And as we are moving towards a gig economy, people should not shy away from those roles, which actually help in learning, and maybe which are of shorter duration or not permanent in nature. So people should not shy off from those kind of roles. And I can actually tell you, coming from the consumer durables industry, or, an FMCG industry, like traditionally we've been hiring people, I mean, as we call permanent jobs, right? But we are also shifting now more and more to project-driven roles, or, to shorter roles, which will help us in driving shorter projects in the company, and will also help in building the skills of the people who are joining us. So this is, I think, a major change here. Let's just redefine the word permanent as we go forward and land into the future, especially in the COVID times. That's all I would say.
Sure. Now, let's moving on to Khalid. What do you think job seekers should do to land a permanent job?
So, I belong to a defense background, and I have, as we say, shifted a lot of time during my childhood. And every time we used to move from one city to another, there used to be a lot of junk which would come out, and we end up throwing it. But during the course, till the time next shifting happened, everything that was found junk, we used to keep it because kabhi to kaam aa jayega. That was the mindset. Now, if we take the same mindset and apply it to our jobs, if you're adding value to the system, your job is safe, whether it's pre-COVID, post-COVID, within COVID. So as a professional, we need to ensure that are we adding enough value? As Tushar was highlighting, that your mindset needs to change. We need to be agile. So if I am requested or tasked to do something which I have not done, then I should take it up because I'm adding value to the system. But if I'm rigid in my mindset, whether it's about learning, whether it's about skill, or whether it's about changing the direction at the stroke of midnight, I think we need that nimbleness. How do we define it? So job seekers should understand that perspective, and people who have jobs also need to understand, because as organizations start to become leaner, people who continuously add value and project that promise of adding value further would continue to have their job. Others will have to find something else.
Okay. Yeah. So there's a slight glitch happening on Zoom because more than 2,000 people are trying to come in. So please, people, move on to Facebook Live. We already have about 1,500 people who are on Facebook Live watching this. Please come to Facebook Live. We are capping the number of people who can come to Zoom. So please move on to Facebook Live. Right. So Tushar, coming back to you. So what do you think about a permanent job now?
Well, you replied that very beautifully. You articulated very beautifully some time back, right? The permanency of job was actually never there, except for possibly when my father and mother used to work, right? Post that, there is no permanency. It's not there even now, right? Leave aside what it's going to be in future. But I'll just borrow from what all of the co-panelists as well as what you have said. It's about your income mindset, right? How can you diversify yourself? How much are you ready to let go of that conventional stuff, right? That junk that Khalid really spoke about. If you're going to be having that kind of mindset, okay, this is I am an SME in this, okay, I won't be looking beyond that. I mean, it's not going to help you. Trust me, it's not going to help you. I mean, you cannot imagine what's going to happen 3 months down the line, where now digital as the core of everything, virtuality is the core of everything, right? So it's important that you quickly upskill yourself. You can't procrastinate on that, and just be relevant. You should be relevant to what the time is really wanting you from.
Sure. So I think all of us are agreeing that to land a permanent job, you need to be permanently flexible and permanently adaptable to whatever is happening, and make the best of whatever your skills are. And that's the permanency you can look for. Okay, now going to the next question, which is, how do you plan your talent pipeline given that the market has changed now? So I'll start with Preeti. How do you plan your talent pipeline now?
So Harveen, actually, I'm a talent acquisition professional, and I also lead the talent management team in my company. And I was talking to a friend of mine, a couple of days back, who also works in talent acquisition function. And we were just discussing, how our budgets have been slashed. So most of our, acquisition budgets, or if we talk about HR budgets, they've been slashed, like most of the companies are going through this. And in fact, a lot of companies right now are on a job freeze. So that's, the current scenario actually. But if we see, that doesn't mean that, there is no requirement of people, or there are no vacancies vacancies in the companies. There are vacancies in the company, but the perspective or the focus of the people people or the HR teams are shifting towards internals. So now, we are allocating more and more budget towards the capability building of our internal talents so that they can take over the newer positions which will come up in the future. So we are actually focusing our budgets on more on that side. So this is definitely, one of the significant changes which I see is happening. Earlier, we used to rely heavily on the external channels or the external talent, but we are now, moving to more and more towards the internal talent. This is this is a change, in the entire talent pipeline which is happening. Again, the second point which I would like to emphasize over here is that there are still a lot of industries and a lot of companies which are in need of people. And Harveen, you also pointed out in the beginning of the webinar that pharma companies and healthcare industries, they are still have a shortage of talent. And I also connected with a couple of my friends in those industries, and yes, they are hiring. So please refocus towards the industries which actually are rehiring right now or are in the process of hiring. And I'm sure if your skills match the requirements of the job or the organization, you'll get a job over there. So this will happen. And I think the best idea would be just to wait and watch how the market goes up. So this is what the entire talent pipeline how looks like as of now to me.
Sure. Thanks for your inputs, Preeti. So yeah, Khalid, what about you? How would you plan your talent pipeline in the current market, given that the market has changed so drastically?
Sure. So I think a couple of things that needs to happen. One, we need to balance out what we need now and what is our future need. So, for example, at this point in time, the downtime, as we articulated, we are considering how this is shaping up our current talent. And let's say, for example, bank want to develop a virtual capability, or someone else wants to build up a virtual capability. They need to get that in place right now before the market comes back. I think Tushar was alluding to the same fact that if this COVID scenario changes, we need to be prepared for it. And for that, the talent needs to exist. I think the second, which is more pertinent point at this point in time, is that employers need to reevaluate what they consider to be an ideal candidate. So earlier, the definition of an ideal candidate was different, but now the definition is evolving. So we are looking at people who are high on learning, who are high on agility, as we said, who can communicate effectively. They know digital platforms. And when we say digital platforms, it's just not about using social media. It's about, being comfortable with the entire environment. So your interviews, your onboarding, your learning, your projects, everything starting to happening online. And I'm very happy about it in a sense that when I see my niece who's 9 years old and she's very comfortable with MS Teams, that's what their school has used. And I can't imagine myself at the age of 9 even knowing anything about technology. So I think that crop, when they start to hit the corporate world, I think they will be far more savvy. I think there are decades to go about it. But nonetheless, I think the prioritization would continue to stay in terms of what is going to be the most important critical skill that I need to hire and what kind of individual will fill that position for me. I think that's the assessment. The other aspect that we are focusing on as an organization is also, what is it that we can do in terms of our processes right now? Because when you're in the race, like a Formula 1 race, you just have pit stops, which are like 5 seconds. You don't even know, you just change your tires and you start running. But I think at this point in time, organizations can take a step back, look at the process from a 30,000, 10,000, 5,000 feet, and see what are the areas where a lack of efficiency exists and better that. I think that's an internal piece which is happening, which will also throw up new jobs, which might take away some jobs. But at the end of the day, I think that's a constant evolution which will continue to happen.
Thanks. Yeah. So I think everybody's talking about these digital platforms, new processes, and high on learning people is what all of us are looking at. Tushar, what would you like to add to this? That how do you plan in the financial services, your talent pipeline now?
Right, because most of the points have been covered up, I'll just make one point, and to that point which you just made about technology, right? We were lucky to have been having the vision to really invest in a candidate relationship management tool. It's known as Phenom People, right? So it's essentially like how you manage a sales pipeline, you're managing a candidate pipeline, right? So Now that was more from the pre-COVID period, right? What we are trying to do is a 2.0 version of it, right? Wherein we are looking at engaging all the people who are coming on our career sites, right? And how do we engage them? You know, of course, since the opportunities have shrunken or have changed, right? We can always, and there is something which is known as a talent network, right? Once you just log in there, you keep on getting these feeds, right? Along with the feeds, what can we do? And one of the things that we are doing, and the owner, we are putting it, the onus back onto the candidate, right? Wherein we are saying these are the skills which are developing now, right? These are the jobs which are developing now and are changing, and this is what we are going to be needing in near to short term, right? If you are interested, right, you may or may not be working with us right now, but if you are interested, this is going to come up 6 months, 12 months down the line, right? You need to get yourself upskill so that you have a shot at it, right? And that's the participative nature of pipelining that we have just envisaged.
Yeah. So upskilling is the key word here, my friends. We have now more than 2,000 people on Facebook Live. Thank you for joining us. We're talking about jobs in the post-COVID era. We're talking about talent acquisition in the post-COVID era. And thank you again for joining us. Yeah. Now, what I'd like to do is, since a lot of you are job seekers, I would like to do a quick poll on, in case you're a job seeker, what is the reason you are looking out for a change right now? The poll is right there for people on Zoom. They can just fill in the poll and we'll just see. So is it better career opportunities? Is it fear of being laid off? Salary cuts by organizations? If you've been laid off, anything others, or you're not looking for a job change? Can you fill the poll? It's on your screen for people who are on Zoom. For people on Facebook Live, we'll be sharing the results soon. What are the reasons that you're looking out for a job change right now? While people are polling, I got some questions on people who are freshers, what should they do? Again, taking from what the panel said here, upskill yourself. And when I say upskill, work on whatever is practical knowledge. So let's say if you can even learn Excel, advanced Excel, if you can learn Microsoft PowerPoint, anything which you learn now, which is practical, which is going to be used by organizations, if you can learn skills like editing videos, making whatever you like, whatever you think of, the kind of organizations you're applying to, these are the skills which will come in handy. So just giving you from my experience, if I have two freshers and one knows Microsoft PowerPoint very well and the other doesn't, so it's a no-brainer for me to hire the person who knows PowerPoint or Excel, simple things which are very, very practical skills, whichever you feel you want to learn practical skills. For freshers, this is very, very essentials. Yeah, can we have the, yeah, so the results of the poll, we have about 400 people voted, I think. So better career opportunities is 53% of them. Fear of being laid off is 12%. 4% because there are salary cuts by organizations. About 19% have been laid off. 8% are looking for other reasons, and 4%, only 4% are not looking for a change. Okay, so interesting. So I see there are a lot of people who've either been also laid off or have a fear of being laid off. If I were to add them and say, let me move with that to the next question. That what is your advice for a job seeker who's been laid off and is actively looking out, or who has that fear that my company is going to lay me off? What is your advice? I'd like to start with Preeti.
Sure. Actually, to all my friends out there who have this fear, I would just say to them that it's absolutely fine. I mean, these are tough times, and it's absolutely normal to have some sort of anxieties about your jobs, about job security, everything. All I would say here is that, it's okay, because none of our jobs are actually secure. If you really talk about permanency, none of our jobs are actually secure at the moment. This is the first point I would say. Embrace if you have been laid off. I mean, if that has happened, a lot of you, there would be a lot of people who, for them, this would be the first time. So embrace it. And again, the third point which I would say is that there will be opportunities coming up in the future. Why? Because the COVID situation will bring up new avenues, will bring up new businesses forward, and these businesses, these avenues will be needing people, will be needing skilled people, and Harveen and my other co-panelists also talked about the skills which will be needed in future. So prepare yourself on those skills, upskill yourself. Again, the word which has come up again and again, upskill yourself. Yes, because after in every crisis there is an opportunity. You must have heard, 2 days back, Prime Minister announced self-reliant policy. Again, with this policy, we will be manufacturing locally. This will again create a lot of jobs in the company. So have patience, look out and upskill yourself. These are some things which I would say. Also, I would say that, people are thinking that the companies are closing down, markets are going down. No, that is not the reality. Companies are just changing their ways of working. And market is adapting, is changing, the way of working is changing. So again, the flexibility to adapt is something which you all should have in your mind. And with that perspective in your mind, you should look out for jobs. This is all I would say to all my friends out there.
Thanks, Preeti. Thanks for your words. Now we'll come to Tushar, because I don't want you to be the last one and say, everything has been covered. So Tushar.
No, I share the fear. Let me tell this way, everybody on this call, I share the fear as well. At every stage of our life, we have a risk exposure, right? The most important point, and this is something which we've been saying in IT, you've been seeing in the at least last 3-4 years, you've been seeing a lot of pink slips, if that's an American term, but it's come on Indian shores, right? I think mental toughness is very, very important, right? It's very, 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 very important for you to hold yourself and continue to search. I can assure you that there are opportunities in the market as far as IT is concerned, right? As of now, if you look at some of my peer organizations, in my space, as well as the IT services space, you will see opportunities, right? Upskilling is of course important, but also just brushing upon on what you are yourself doing. Your conventional wisdom is also equally important. The preparation, when I said, I'm not comfortable talking to people over a camera, I'm a very face-to-face kind of a guy, always been so, right? But it's very important, because how you give your how your interview through this channel will make or break your next step, right? So prepare a lot on that. Prepare on your subject is all I'm trying to say. Just mental toughness is the most important thing.
Oh, mental toughness. Great. That's a very, very key thing for people who are getting laid off. And Khalid, what would you like to add to that, to the people who are being laid off or who are at the fear of being laid off right now?
Yeah, I think we need to keep Tushar at the last, because once Tushar speaks, I don't think there are anything left to be spoken of, which is very good. But I think Tushar just nailed it. I think mental toughness is the key. And when this question was asked, I was formulating my thoughts. Yes, there is an anxiousness. There has to be, because you all are humans. But at the end of the day, if it's happening, it's happening. You have to take it on your chin and move ahead. I think you can be sad, probably open a beer or bottle at the end of the day, feel sad about it, cry if you want to, but at the end of the day, next day, just start preparing for the next set of battle, which is to find a new role. And I think if we start to understand that an employee is a part of a jigsaw puzzle, which is called company. So if you're not fitting in, then I think either you are too big for the role or you're too small for the role. So once you've understood that part, you go and find another jigsaw puzzle where you fit in. or you expand your size in terms of your learning, your skills, or you lean down if you need to. I think that assessment needs to happen. One thing that I would recommend all of people who have been laid off or who are thinking that it might happen to you, I think go and find mentors. Talk to people who can give you that sound advice, because sometimes you just need a person telling you to do the same. That's what consultants do, right? We get money to tell somebody they already know about. But a mentor would tell you something which you cannot fathom. You can't see from 30,000 feet. I think that's very critical, apart from learning and chiseling your craft. The last bit of it is just take it as a passage of life. It has happened. It has happened. It's not your fault, because if you were good yesterday, you aren't good today. Do introspection, but take it as a part of life. Don't demean yourself or put yourself in a hole that this is the worst thing that can happen to me.
Yeah. So I'd like to add from what I'm saying, Preeti mentioned, like we don't have job security and you need to upskill. Tushar mentioned we need to be mentally tough. And Khalid made a very important point. You need to go find a mentor. I'd like to add one more thing here, that in case you're being laid off, just understand that it's not you who is being laid off. It's the title of the job.
Right.
It's the title of the job, because nobody, no business owner, no CEO could foresee this kind of a crisis. So if it's the title and you are just being affected by it because you carry that title, but let's say if there's a vice president, or if you're a sales head, or if you're a HR manager, it's the HR manager who's not required. It's not that you are being laid off. It's the title which is being laid off. So please, my friends, differentiate yourself from the title. So the title is not required because the CEOs or the business owners did not foresee this. And as of now, they do not know what to do with these titles. In the meantime, go and find yourself, or introspect, find a mentor, introspect on what are you really good at? What is it that you really enjoy doing from the bottom of your heart in your work? And then, like Khalid mentioned, you don't look yourself as a job seeker. You're a problem solver. You solve some jigsaw puzzle somewhere. You need to find the puzzle. It's not easy, but it is doable. In the meantime, if you have money issues or some issues, get into the gig economy. Use your skills. Get into projects, small, short term. Get into internships. There's nothing wrong in being an intern also, even after 10 years of experience. Because when you move after 2 months, 3 months of doing a project, you'll be looked up better because you did something, you added some value to some company. So look at the things which you really enjoy doing in your skills and see who can you help with that skill. That's my advice. And moving on to now some question and answers which we got from panelists. By the way, thank you everybody for joining it. We have about 25,000 people who this webinar has reached to, 2,000 on Facebook Live, 500 people on Zoom. We're running full capacity. I hope Facebook server can take this. And so now coming to some questions which have been asked, we'd like to just address those questions to those to our panelists. I just noted them down. Yeah. So the first question is, do you foresee the COVID-19 turning the work from home into a new reality in your industry? Considering, will that be a new normal for your industries? And I would like all of you to respond. And this time we'll go with Khalid first.
So after spending a decade with IBM, I always knew this is the reality, because IBM historically is known to work from home, and I have worked from home for 7 years. But then that work from home and what we are doing right now is completely different, because right now I'm managing home and my office. Earlier it was just office from home. So it's different. And a lot of people keep saying to me that work from home is really bad. I don't know how you did it, but that has changed. I think, yes, the industries will have to take that into consideration because the cost impact is high. At the same time, we don't have a solution to COVID right now. So anticipating something gets found tomorrow, it's going to take a year for it to come to masses. So it's here to stay. WHO recently issued a warning that it's just going to stay. So I think that's going to be there. Some of the roles will be difficult to manage to be operated remotely. So there will be people you need on the ground doing that job. But wherever possibility, how much of that possibility, I think organization will ensure that people stay with social distancing wherever they are.
Tushar, what about your industry? Do you see work from home becoming a norm or increasing in terms of your industry?
So it's a dichotomy, right? We are a banking technology organizations. We are paranoid about risk and about infosec, right? That's the only thing that keeps my CEO awake. I mean, he always says that, right? And now having the entire workforce working from home, even doing core banking solution implementations, staying at home, I mean, that's so, and I've touched upon this point earlier, right? So at least as far as my industry is concerned, we are looking at which jobs can really stay at home and which jobs will need that kind of absolute secure environment from a data security perspective, right? Data security is number one, right? But I can actually punt right now that it will be more than 50% of the jobs, especially across IT, which will be permanently designated as work from home, right? And to Khalid's point, the situation about home help and all of that will change and will facilitate that rather, right? Eventually, whenever, right? And the most important thing is the IT industry in India is serving clients elsewhere, right? So the pressure of cost will be negated by them letting go of all the real estate, right? There's so many huge campuses and all of that, right? So they'll have to fine balance their P&Ls, right? So I think 50% is what I'm punting on right now. 50%. Permanent work from home. Yeah.
So I think so. That's a big saving on the infrastructure cost also.
Absolutely.
And yeah, Preeti, your industry, let's hear it. Will work from home become a norm? What percentage do you see can be managed? You would have witnessed it happening this time in the last 1.5 months.
So Harveen, I think actually this COVID crisis has been a real eye-opener for us and for the people in our industry. Our sales force, which was, their job was to be go-to market, connect with your distributors, connect with your customers, connect with your retailers. I mean, by connect, I mean, go and meet them face to face, be in the market, know what is happening in the market. Now that is still being done, yes, but it is done from the vicinity of your homes. It is still done through different methods. It's done through technology. It's done through phones. So I think this has been a real eye-opener for us. We never thought that, some businesses of ours can still work from home. So I think this particular crisis has made us realize a different potential for all of us. Our industry is focusing more and more on innovation side, especially on the product delivery side. So a lot of companies are now focusing how their products can be available to the customers directly in their houses. So this is one of the side which industry is thinking about. Again, the other thing which is coming up is that multi-product retailers, for example, like you go to a chemist shop, you will go there to buy medicines, but at the same time you will also expect the chemist shop to have a bulb, to actually sell a bulb. So this is a single retail shop selling multiple products. So this is also like, a major change which is happening. And we are still, a little bit grappling with work from home. I mean, actually, there are some functions, particularly, which we see the efficiencies going up. We are still thinking how we can utilize our sales force very effectively when it comes to work from home. We are still thinking of those ideas. And I'm sure, there will be new innovations coming up on this side so that, our sales force can actually still be able to meet their targets without meeting.
Sure. So we're running a little out of time. We have a lot of questions which are coming up. There's one or two I can just answer offhand. Like, how would a laid off job seeker from startups be perceived by the recruiters during the interview? I think everybody would understand. There's no stigma. Please get it off. If you're laid off, you have your skills, find your skills. For freshers, what to do? I've told you, add practical skills. Whatever you can add as many practical skills, it will help you. And there's a question, how should job seekers make a choice between upskilling and reskilling? Any one of you could add to that. Is upskilling or reskilling, and does upskilling without work experience count?
And let me just take a stab at it. I think these are just the terminologies. I think it's just about building on what you already have. Is that called reskilling? If you don't know something that you do well, or if you think that you are not doing it well, you have to upskill. It is also a form of it. Or you acquire a new skill altogether. It depends on the context, but I think people should focus on skilling based on a goal that they have in mind. They should not have a lot of skills which are not going to add value. To focus on a theme, and that's where a mentor or a career specialist could help you see what those skills are and start focusing on those.
Right. Thanks a lot. We have just time for this. Thanks everyone. Thanks the esteemed panelists for giving up your time, and everyone for coming in, attending this webinar. Please like it on Facebook, share it with people who you think it can work for. We'll also figure out, host it on our servers or Naukri servers. And also, if you feel there are more questions which you have, more webinars which you would want on, write it on Facebook, write it on your chats, give your comments, and we would love to hear. Thanks everyone. And thank you, Khalid. Thank you, Preeti. Thank you, Tushar.
Thank you.
Thank you, Naukri team.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.